Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on another episode of the Handle That podcast. It's a solo show today, just me by myself, because I feel like this topic needs to be talked about a lot more with all the things that are coming out now. And this is a topic that I, avoided because I wanted to wait until, both sides were able to explain, or both sides were able to give their own part in what happened. Drinking on a little bit of tea. The Tory Lanez Meg Thee Stallion situation. Now, I want to preface this by saying, I, like a lot of people in my community, I want to see black women protected. But not only do I want to see black women protected, I want to see black men protected. I want to see black elders protected. I want to see black children protected. I want to see black people as a whole protected, right? And when this situation first came out, I'm going to speak very candidly. When this situation first came out, I won't lie, I immediately said, there's no way Tory shot her. There is no way Tory, if you know his backstory, does not mean that he's innocent, but if you know his backstory, he was homeless in Toronto, got kicked out of his mom's house. He had an up and down relationship with his grandmother. So oftentimes he was sleeping on the streets, and in Toronto it gets pretty damn cold. The summers are cold and the winters are, the summers are hot and the winters are cold, really bad. And he was homeless, sleeping on his friend's couch and stuff like that. He grinded his way up to get to where he is now, right? So all the riches and the spoils that come along with that, he deserves because he worked hard for it. Now, I say all that to say this. When it first came out, I didn't believe that he did what he did, or what he was being accused of, excuse me. And so, as time goes on, stories are being made up, TMZ is putting out stuff, all of these blog sites are putting out, story. Oh God, Tory Lanez was trying to shoot her in the back and ended up shooting her in the foot. Oh God, she's lying about the whole thing. She made it up because of this, that, and the third. Oh God, just all this bullshit. And we fast forward a couple weeks later, Meg puts out her side of the story. She puts out her side saying that 100% Tory Lanez shot me, right? Now, while all of this is being said, Tory didn't say anything. He doesn't release any statements. He doesn't release any music. He doesn't release any IG posts. He didn't deactivate his social media, but he just wasn't posting on it at all, right? For like 3 months. And you fast forward with the Breonna Taylor situation, where those crooked ass cops got off for murdering her in cold blood, unjustly murdering her. And he decides to drop his mixtape, or his new album. I believe the album is called Daystar. His first name is Daystar. I believe it's called Daystar. I could be wrong, but he drops the album, and literally the entire piece of work is him describing how his innocence needs to be, taken. It doesn't need to be taken lightly. The fact that he's being slandered by people who don't even know the entire story. The fact that people are only saying that he did what he did because Meg said he shot her, or he shot her, and stuff like this is good for ratings. If you know anything about the entertainment industry, you should know that negativity moves just like social media. Negativity moves the needle. Negativity raises the interest, right? So when people are like, oh man, he might have did this, he might have did that, it makes him seem more guilty because he's not saying anything, and he decides to release the music, and people are like, oh man, he didn't release a statement, but he's releasing music. Oh yeah, he really did it now, and it's just crazy stuff. Fast forward to yesterday. which is about 3 weeks after he put out the album. And he went on IG Live. I saw a post on Facebook say, "Oh man, I take back everything I said." It's just people commenting saying, "Oh man, I really believe Tory didn't do it. I take back everything I said." Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me go check this out, because I am a firm believer that you need the totality of the evidence. You need everything. You need to know both sides. You need to know the party who was involved. You need to know the people who were there. You need to have witnesses. You need to get everything you can before you pass judgment on somebody, man, woman, or child. You need to have everything in order, because if you pass judgment on somebody based off of what one person says, there will be a lot more people, in jail right now. And so I watch his live, and it seems to me he's being very genuine. And a lot of the things that he was saying in his live were a lot of the things that I was saying before any of this stuff blew up like it is now. The fact that she was able to leave out bits and pieces of her statement leading up to her IG Live, where she flat out said he shot her. She was able to flip her story multiple times. There should have been cameras everywhere to show exactly what happened. People involved, there were no real, I wouldn't say real, there wasn't enough, information being put out by everybody who was involved. The pictures were a little misleading. The pictures of her foot were a little misleading. Just things like that. And to go even further, one of the things I said was that when you say something like this is before all this stuff happened, and then this protect black women narrative was given a life of its own and literally pumped with steroids. When you do that, when you say protect black women, you don't ask a child to protect his parents. You don't necessarily rely on elderly people to protect young people, even though they do from time to time. When you put out a statement saying protect blank woman, you basically put all of that on the man in the situation. So when you say something like protect black women, you're basically saying, oh, black men aren't doing enough to protect black women, right? The narrative is so negative. The narrative caused so much division between women and men, division that we already do not need. And it all, to me, is coming off as a publicity stunt or a means to gain as much traction, to gain as much fans, to gain as much energy to be on your side for when the shit undoubtedly hits the fan. And the shit is going to hit the fan, right? So he puts out his live and you compare it to her live. Now, how do I feel about the situation now? I still honestly feel like he didn't do it. I was the first to say, if he did do this, he deserves every ounce of punishment that comes his way and that comes along with being someone who shoots somebody else. You can't get around that. But if it comes out that she's lying about this, she deserves the same amount of fire. She deserves the same amount of force that was put on Tory Lanez. Because when you say, when she said, oh God, he shot me, everybody from friends, this is coming from him, and I already knew this was going to happen, but this is coming from his account, friends he was down with since day one, every media blog site, all of the streaming sites, they basically turned their backs on him because they believe he did that without any evidence, without concrete evidence. Just because you're being charged with something, he was charged and facing 22 years. That was when that happens, usually, especially with celebrities, they when they're being charged, quote unquote, with something, depending on your crime, there is a low end and there is a high end. They're always going to put the high end as it pertains to your sentencing. If you are convicted, they're always going to put the high end because that draws more ratings. So let's just say, for sake of argument, they say he was facing 22 years in jail, right? But he may have also been facing a minimum of 8 months. Right? You're facing a minimum of 8 months and a maximum of 22. Now, I don't know if that's the exact, number for the minimum, but I know for a fact that because they put it out, they reported it, it's a maximum of 22 years. They always do that. When I had my stint, when I had to sit in front of a judge for something that I was lied on for, I got a whole YouTube video about that. If you want to check it out, my YouTube channel is Abdul Aesthetics. That's ABDUL_AESTHETICS. Abdul _Aesthetics. Well, that's actually Instagram, but it works the same on YouTube. Same thing. The judge, my charge was I was facing a maximum of 5 years, but a minimum of 3. So they put it out facing a max of 5. Just to draw more attention, to make it seem as though I was more guilty than I actually was, when I didn't do shit in the first place. But this isn't about me, right? So when you compare the two of them, it really sounds as though he's being set up. To me, it really sounds as though he's being set up. And I'm a man of honesty, right? If you have something that you need to tell me, be honest up front. And the fact that she was able to flip the story as many times as she did, every time I heard something different, I lost credit. She lost credibility with me. For whatever it's worth, she lost credibility, right? Because if something happened to you, you don't need to lie about it. If somebody did something to you and they deserve jail time, you don't need to lie about what they did to protect them. Fuck them. They chose to do this thing, and now you're choosing to protect them, which is not going to get you anywhere, right? So here we are. He's still dealing with that, the charge and whatnot. And I'm not hearing it. Excuse me. I'm not hearing anything from her side, right? Now, I'm sure a lot of people are going to hear this and be, give me the same flack I've always been getting. Oh, you must hate black women. Oh, he did it. There's no need to do this. He's guilty. He took forever to talk. Oh, now he wants to talk now. You have to understand. Legal matters like this. My lawyer told me, whenever you get into a situation, you have two choices. You have two good choices. You either A, if you don't have a lawyer, you get a lawyer and you shut the fuck up, because you could slip and say something that could be easily flipped and used against you. Or if you have a lawyer, you get him involved and you shut the fuck up. Because, like I said, especially if you have all these media sites with a camera in your face and putting microphones down your throat, they're itching for you to say something slightly off kilt so they can use that and flip it against you, right? So he did the smart thing in the situation. If he's truly innocent, he did the smart thing, in my opinion, in the situation. You may not agree with it, but that's how I feel about it. Now, we're gonna wait and see exactly what happens in the future with all of this stuff. I feel like this is all gonna be resolved. I want to say maybe before the end of the year, but I don't think it's gonna go any further than Valentine's Day. Right? So I'm thinking in the next 4 months they're gonna have this thing, under control. So to go back to the protect black women narrative and why I had such a problem with it, I want to go a little bit deeper into that. My podcast episode with Coach Lyndon Reed, which I actually released. Make sure to go check that out. It's on Anchor as well. When you say, let's just go back to it. When you say protect black women, obviously black women need to be protected. They need to be protected from the criminals, that seek to do them wrong. They need to be protected from themselves sometimes. They need to be protected from the choices that they make. They need to be protected from all of these things. But one thing that has to be talked about is accountability, right? So let's just say, for sake of argument, fast forward, we find out Tory's guilty. He shot her. He did this. He did that. He's wrong. He's got to go down now. Meg still has to take responsibility for the fact that she, that she was associating with a guy who showed her signs of being vindictive, evil, sadistic, showed her signs, and she, being the adult that she is, chose to ignore it, right? You can't immediately believe what every woman says when it comes to situations like that. I know people are going to hear this and they're going to, try to hold me to the fire. They're going to try to vilify me, make it seem like I'm evil, but you cannot believe anybody first when they say what they say. You have to get the evidence. You have to get the facts, because too many times, men have been arrested. Men have had their livelihoods taken away. Men have had their lives completely changed, and not for the better. Men have literally lost years off of their lives due to stress, wrongful convictions, lifestyle patterns that they were thrust into because, they weren't expecting, because it was more convenient for a specific woman to say a lie than to admit her role in what may or may not have happened. Right? So here again, saying protect black women, especially in the climate that we're in right now, it's probably some of the most divisive shit you can say. Because as a black man who protects his black women, I protect my girlfriend. I would literally take a bullet for her. I would not let anything happen to any black woman in my family. My sister, my cousins, my aunts, my mama, my grandmother, right? My last grandparent, my grandmother. I'd never let anything, if I'm there to stop it, I won't let anything happen, right? But at the same time, me being that type of guy, when I hear, protect black women over and over again, it psychologically makes me feel as though, why am I being vilified for doing what they're saying that needs to be done? You can't, you push this narrative and you gain all this traction because you have a lot of people who buy into it. You have a lot of people who feel as though they need to be protected, but they also simultaneously don't want to take responsibility for the fucked up shit that they do, that sometimes causes a problem, right? That sometimes leads to them needing to be protected. You can take that how you want. I'm willing to discuss this with anybody. But as of right now, you cannot push this narrative and think that it's okay. And I hope that she truly, Meg, I'm talking about Meg now. I hope that she truly is saying this to push the narrative in a justful way. And I hope she's not just using it as a means to gain a following, because the climate we live in, people do really fucked up shit to increase their following, because your following increases, your revenue increases, the quality of your life increases. And we have all seen some examples of people doing some really wild shit just to get their numbers up. Now, I hope this isn't the case, and I'm gonna end it all with this. If Tory did what he did, he needs to be disciplined to whatever the extent of his crime is. But if it comes out that Meg lied about it, she needs to be disciplined as well. Because you cannot make up a story like this, lie about it, have a man vilified and virtually almost destroyed, and then come out that you lied about it and nothing happened to you and we all go on? Because if the roles were reversed, if Tory said that Meg shot him and he lied about it, his career would be over. There would be no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You see where I'm going with this? It's kind of like you're in a lose-lose situation. So this is how I feel about this topic. Like I said, I'm open to discuss this with anybody. But at the end of the day, the facts are going to speak for themselves. So with that being said, I really hope y'all enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Make sure you all stay groovy, stay cool, stay positive, keep a leveled head. You know, if you get into a situation to where you're going to have to make a choice, or you're going to have to make a decision, you know, on this level, make sure you get all the facts first. Don't just jump the gun. Don't just make a move based off emotion, right? So here again, hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. Stay groovy, stay cool, and above all else, handle that.